Hi Miss Cole, this is Michael Leslie with my weekly Practicum video. This week we had Pastor Dale from the Freedom Department come in and talk to our class. He is in charge of the Pastors on Call program through Gateway, which is basically a program where for a full week, once a year, each pastor has to be on call from the moment the offices close at Gateway until they reopen in the morning for 7 days. It's basically if somebody calls for like a crisis, like the first thing we talked about was the suicide attempt, excuse me, and stuff like that. If somebody says that they want to kill themselves or something, and they're calling the church to tell somebody about it, chances are they probably don't, or they don't want to kill themselves, or they don't have a plan to kill themselves. But all the pastors are trained on how to handle these situations. It could be from needing somebody to talk to suicide attempts, to so-and-so died, etc., etc. They said a lot of times that there are people that aren't even from Gateway, like they're from out of state calling to talk. So that was kind of cool to hear that Gateway has such a nationwide impact, that they are there's people coming from all over the place, or calling from all over the place to talk to a pastor because they trust him so much. That was pretty cool. I talked about how to handle certain situations. We had a sheet that had some like role play case studies, if you will, I guess. Like, hey, what would you do as a pastor in this situation? For suicide attempts or deaths or depression, that kind of stuff. Domestic violence was one that we talked about, and just kind of being under the in the state of Texas, by law, if a woman was to call and tell the pastor that their her husband had just beat her or something, or even somebody that is suicidal, and that they are telling that pastor, hey, I have a plan to commit suicide, they're required by the state of Texas to call the authorities and get the authorities involved. We talked about that being a big struggle, and so there's certain questions that they ask to kind of probe that out, like, hey, do you have a plan? If you do have a plan, we need to make sure you don't go through with that plan. And it's all in all, it was an interesting discussion with Pastor Dale. It would be interesting to be on those calls. Obviously, I'm not a pastor at Gateway, so that's never going to happen. But yeah, it's cool. We also talked about the hospital visit as well in class, which I think is this coming week, or maybe it's the week after, the 14th or